appreciate the very generous introduction to SEACOM, but I think SEACOM's a little bit old news now. It's 2011. We went to launch in 2009. I think people were really excited about us in 2007. And a lot of what we're doing at SEACOM right now is trying to revive things, to get things a little bit more exciting, and also to contribute to the problems that I think have been pointed out by so many of the other delegates speaking here today. Also, what's very special about MyBroadband has generally been that we have a very tech-savvy, very industry-savvy audience that does participate and does attend. So I hope that I will provide you with enough insight into what's going on at SEACOM over the next 25 minutes. So in terms of what I was asked to speak on, what I'll touch upon is what we've done since we went live, how it is that we're changing, and what it is that we hope to achieve in the long run. Apologies for the very boring map, but that was pretty much what we were in 2009, and that's exactly what the industry needed at that point in time. The cost of STM1s, and this is old news, the cost of STM1s between South Africa and London was close to 2 million rands per month. Today, it's closer to 350,000 rands, if not less, per STM1 per month. So dramatic price savings. Also, not only did we put infrastructure in, we changed the commercial model by which we were able to bring cost-effective pricing into the market. And that was, the African market at the time was predominantly lease-based. So you paid for a service on a monthly basis. And what we introduced in was the concept of the IRU, an upfront payment for 20 years worth of service. And now that gave us a tremendous benefit of having cash up front, and therefore we were willing to make those services available at an incredibly low price. The good news, though, is since 2009, even our own prices, which were so revolutionary at the time and really contributed to changing the industry at the time, dropped considerably. And today our network looks very, very different. As you can see, and I'm going to start in the south. As you can see, we've partnered with local backhaul providers to extend the reach of SEACOM into neighboring countries such as Lesotho, Swaziland, for what it's worth, Namibia and Zambia and so forth. And so this is the capability that we have. We actually have traffic running on several of those routes, but not necessarily all of those routes. If we then look just to the left of that, we've got SAT3 capacity, which we bring into the market as well. Of course, that's a standard buy-sell, but we've done that for reasons which I'll get into just now. On the east side, we've extended our network into Nairobi, which was there on launch, but we've extended it into Uganda, into Rwanda. Now, there's several SEACOM employees here present today, and please take the opportunity to speak to them, because several of them are tasked with extending the reach of the SEACOM network deeper and deeper into the continent. And there's a reason why we're doing this. As the industry changes, and we're in complete support of price decline, because we'd like to see volumes increase as well. We've got an enormous cable in excess of 4 terabits, and very little of it is in use. And we want to see a lot of it in use. But we need to see it in use, provided we can get the revenue line items to repay our costs and the capital costs of the project. We're trying to introduce new products, and we're trying to get into new countries, and that's what a lot of the staff at SEACOM do at the moment. On the top left-hand side, we've partnered with Main1. It's a historical connectivity agreement that we've got to get capacity directly from East Africa to West Africa. In fact, we've been nominated for an award at AFRICOM this year for that deal. We've even got capacity flowing directly between East and West Africa as well as Asia. So that was a tremendous achievement for us. But I think you can get the picture here in the sense that what SEACOM's trying to achieve is a lot more of a robust network, and a network that is able to penetrate different countries in Africa deeper and deeper. With time, what we hope to achieve is what's up on the screen. Similarly, deeper penetration into different countries within Africa, but we've made, everyone knows that we're making an investment into WACS at this point in time, so we're hoping to complete that ring. We won't be doing it on ourselves, we'll be doing it as a member of the WACS consortium, but that really completes our founder's vision, Brian at the time, which was to have a ring around Africa. And he's been working on that project for so many years, and it's good to see us finally get there. But in order to get a ring around Africa, one needs to connect the East and the West, so you need a trans-SA solution as well. What we've done is we've continued the concept of partnerships like we've done with Main1. We've continued that concept with other cable systems to get us deep into the Middle East, as well as to some of the Indian Ocean islands. So once again, the utilization of our cable system and the robustness of the service that we provide will improve. So what else it is that we're focusing on? I think the big thing that we sometimes overlook is that SEACOM is no longer a project. You know, so much of what's been written about us, and even sometimes the way that we speak about ourselves, is that we were this project, this massive $600 million project. And since then, it's changed significantly. We're now a company with 70 staff. We've got HR to worry about, and legal compliance, and so forth. We've got an executive team that's based on the continent. We've got regional sales teams that are out there, and various functional unit heads that help grow the company. The proudest thing about our company, specifically with the shareholding being 77% African, is that we have a very high percentage of African staff. That's key to our vision as well. Now, I'm moving on to a sensitive issue, a contentious one, and which is why I normally try to just speak openly and frankly about it. We are a linear cable system at present. And it was for that reason that we decided to make a big decision and buy and resell SAT3 capacity to those of our customers who needed assistance in doing so. But that in itself is not the solution, because SAT3 capacity is incredibly expensive. Of course, prices have fallen. But what we've tried to do is be incredibly proactive. We have spent months planning what happens in the event of a cable failure. And you'll see that we've classified 5 major zones in our network. There's actually about 23 different segments in the SEACOM system. And what we've done is we've simplified it, and we've said there's 5 major segments in the system, and we preempt any possible event, God forbid. You know, in the industry, you said you're not supposed to talk about this because next week you'll have a. So I'm breaking the rule. But what we've been doing is planning this. We've been having mock events. We've been trying to go through the internal processes as what one does when perhaps you can't get a hold of your CEO, your CFO for approvals and authorizations. And this has been a tremendously successful piece of work being done by the teams within SEACOM. So now if we do have an event, we're able to react to it very quickly. And I think we've noticed that about SEACOM over the last couple of weeks. And in fact, I think it was some of the tech journalists, including Arthur Goldstock, who commended us in the way that we've been handling some of the failures that we've had, or the troubles we've had in our network, compared to BlackBerry. So that's a bit of an accolade, but unfortunate nonetheless. So what it is that we're trying to achieve. And if I could, there's a lot of words on this slide, but I think it summarizes and it reflects a lot of what was said in the previous panel. And it also reflects perhaps the popular opinion within the industry. I think we can't be archaic in the way that we think we consume the internet and the way that we utilize it. And it's not about HTML anymore. It's not about reading web pages. It's very different. And it's not also about the computer or the desktop, or the laptop, or the desktop. It's about the smartphones. It's about the iPads. It's about all of those devices. And that is fundamentally changing the way people consume the internet. And our job is at the core of that. Also, when one looks at the birth of 3G and LTE, we're hoping there's going to be some benefits that come with that. But to be honest with you, our experience in Africa has been that the fixed line operators tend to be the largest consumers, and the mobile operators seem to have a lot of problems in terms of consuming the internet. I suspect that they have a lot of congestion at their base stations in their metropolitan environments before they can even access large POP facilities such as SEACOM getting out to the internet. We've also seen in a positive sense, a competitiveness in the industry in terms of multiple operator licenses and so forth. Perhaps as a possible threat to SEACOM, we've seen other cable systems come in. On the flip side, I think it's good because it now gives us possible partners to work with for mutual aid and restoration agreements. Because the incumbent old cable systems are somewhat old-fashioned in the way that they pursue restoration, or the way that they view mutual aid and restoration agreements. So we're hoping that some of the newer cable systems will be easier to deal with. And also with broadband deployment getting deeper and deeper into South Africa and other places as well. The bottom line is the market's completely changed. We wrote our business case at a time when South Africa was consuming 10 gigabits. Today, we alone deliver about 40 or 50 gigabits into South Africa. It's a very different market. People are consuming it in a different way, and the price points are fundamentally different. So how is it we're trying to add value? Now, I'll tell you, before I go on to what it is that we're going to try and pitch, let me tell you fundamental flaws in what we initially offered. We offered, firstly, we were successful with the SDH, the IPL, IRUs. but the IRUs are very capital intensive. So what we've seen happen in the market is the greater interest in leases, but competitive price points on the leases. So we're having to react to that. The second thing that we perhaps got wrong was the STM1 increments. So you could buy 155 meg minimum. For us, that segmented the industry. You're either large enough and licensed enough to come to buy from SEACOM, or you weren't. And 155 meg was the decision point. Further on, if you consumed 155, and we've seen this with the smaller ISPs, once you've consumed 155 and you needed to grow, you came back to SEACOM, and the next option was plus 155, getting you to 310. That was a 100% increase of your capacity. It's massive, and a massive investment as well. So on the basis of that, we felt that we needed to evolve a little and change the product offering that we had. And so we switched to a packet-based network, and that allows us to increase the granularity of the services that we offer. So you can buy 155, 156, 157, and we try to stay away from 157.5. But the point is, you can certainly grow in per meg or 5 meg or 10 meg increments. We've also, the next biggest problem we've experienced with the utilization, customer experience within the industry, has been latency. And it's, the latency specifically is that no matter whether you're in SAT3 or whether you're in SEACOM, you've got to get 15,000 kilometers to London and back to access international content. So within our IP network, we've deployed a caching service as well. And if you're going to get this sophisticated in your architecture, you need to have security. So we've deployed security as well. And as I said, the major feature benefits to customers is the granularity and increased service availability. And I'll speak about this a little bit later on in the following slide, as well as direct inter-Africa routing. What I mean by direct inter-Africa routing is within our IP network, and this is a wholesale service that we're providing now. We have access to the internet within Europe, as well as access to the internet out of Asia. And then once we've got the WAX capacity online, access to the internet via West Coast route. Now, when you're purchasing an IP service, you're now able to get it at a much greater service availability than you traditionally would have had on a linear SDH RPL service. Furthermore, because we've got several nodes, 5 to 7 nodes, deployed around the continent, what we're doing is we're picking up African content, web pages in Tanzania, web pages in Kenya, videos and so forth in these different locations that, when being viewed by neighboring countries, are now being experienced express routes. So the web page latency to Tanzanian or Kenyan visiting a South African is now only 12 to 15 milliseconds, which is a lot different from what happened in the past. A lot of our early customers in 2009, 2010, what they were still doing was buying capacity to London and connecting to the neighbor in London, which is fundamentally ridiculous. So we believe by moving to this level in the of architecture, implementing this level of network, we can certainly improve that. So therefore, what we see is, as we move into the IP services layer, what we're able to provide is a blend of East and West, as well as trans-South African links, terrestrial backhaul solutions, and in addition to providing the internet, we can also provide direct Africa-to-Africa connectivity for things such as voice over IP. So we believe this is what the future is going to hold. But frankly, this is something that will add a lot of value in the next 2 years, and then we're on par with the rest of the world, and then we need to re-innovate. And that is constantly what we need to achieve. So what it is that we're trying to achieve today, and I'd like to say that this is actually a short to medium-term vision, because I think none of us really knows what the long-term vision for the industry is. And I'd love to figure that out. But frankly, I don't have an answer for that. I'm sure Google has a view, and it doesn't involve us. But what we're trying to pitch at this point in time is to the large operators, as well as to multinational operators as well, is that on the basis of this network, we can provide you capacity into several destination points. Now, not only places like Rwanda, Tanzania, Kenya, and so forth, we'll provide it to you on an aggregated basis. So if you're bursting in Kenya and you're idle in Rwanda, you don't necessarily pay twice for it, and so forth. But also, as we expand our South African network, one of the major problems that you'll find with mobile networks and other, I suppose, as a local loop unbundling and so forth takes place in our country, is that as soon as you get the traffic from your customer, you want to drop it. You want to drop it onto the internet as close as possible. Because if you have to long haul it back to a central aggregation node, not only are you introducing several points of failure, but you're going to have to incur additional costs. So what we're trying to do is deliver a more granular service, and in no way am I suggesting that we're going to hit small towns and so forth. That's not our model at all. But certainly Johannesburg, Cape Town, and Durban. So in a similar basis, we're able to in summary, provide you with intra-Africa connectivity on a cash basis, inter-South Africa connectivity, gig E-ports, which are a lot more cost-effective than SDH, and so forth and so forth. All the value benefits that comes with a packet-based network. That is our view in the short to medium term. So thank you.
Please drive home safely, and we'll see you again next year.